Success in the automotive industry is abundant and defined in many different ways. Today with our guest Mike Friesth, the current director of automotive tool and equipment at Greatneck, we want to know how he was able to gain such success in completely different sectors of the automotive industry and the struggles he had to face with transitioning between them. Welcome to the Cutting Edge Garage Podcast.
First of all, thank you for being here. We're grateful that you've taken the time to be with us today. And what we really want to get to today is some of the experiences that you've had in the industry and the successes. One of the things that I'd like to talk about from a personal curiosity, we've known each other for a few years, but one of the things that I don't know about is what you did before the automotive business.
Well, thank you, Lee, for inviting me. It was an honor to be asked, and I'm happy to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun. It'll be my first foray into a podcast platform. So
mine too.
All right, we can break that bubble together. So prior to me entering the automotive world, I didn't know much about cars. Didn't know much about automotive at all. In fact, funny story, I didn't realize you had to change oil in a car.
It helps.
I learned when
definitely increases the engine life.
My first car was a '76 Chevy Malibu, and couldn't figure out why it was running so horribly. And my friend had me pull over, and he pulled out the dipstick and asked me when was the last time I changed my oil. And I looked at him funny. You got to do that? So obviously not from the automotive world. Before I became involved in the automotive world, I actually was designing concrete formwork, different areas across the country. Worked as a civil engineer designing concrete formwork, like I said, and had no intentions, had no designs on ever being in the automotive world. I wanted to design buildings and build stuff. So I have a very unique beginning of my life to now being in the automotive world and doing what I'm doing. So I can talk about how I got there if you want.
Yeah. So share a few funny stories with us along the way.
Sure. So just happened to open up a newspaper want ad and saw that Mac Tools was looking for distributors. And I didn't know what Mac was. Didn't really know what I would do as a Mac distributor, but I needed to do something and started as a mobile Mac direct sales representative and working for the company.
So doing that, you're an actual company employee, or
correct?
Okay,
correct. So I Mac Tools owned the truck. They owned the accounts receivable. They owned the inventory. I collected a salary and commission based on my performance. Didn't know what I was selling because I was not from this industry.
You mean Mac Tools, or you mean tools?
The tools. I didn't know what some of the tools did. I mean, I knew ratchets and sockets, the simple hardline stuff, but talk about a funny story. I actually asked a customer what an impact wrench did because I didn't know. And you're still laughing about that.
I mean, wait a minute. It says here that you are the director of automotive tool and equipment at Greatneck Saul.
Correct. You're asking. This was a long time ago, though.
I'm just making sure that I've got all the facts. So we're going from I don't know what an impact does to I'm heading up the program.
You got it.
All right.
It's amazing what can happen in one's life.
Absolutely.
So I was a Mac Tools distributor for Mac for about 6 months, and then bought the business and became an independent distributor. They weren't franchised then, so okay. I was a 100% independent distributor. I did subsequently learn what a half-inch impact did. So
awesome,
especially when you sold as many as you sold as a distributor, you better figure out what that is. But being a business owner, I had to learn on the fly, and I had to learn a whole new world.
So talk just briefly about the difference between being that company truck or company owned truck versus being the franchise guy or the
right
the dealer, distributor, whatever the correct term is.
So when I came on board as a Mac direct sales representative, it was, again, I had to follow their template, which included a restriction on turning the accounts receivable and restriction on inventory. And I shouldn't say restrictions, I should say guide, where you had to hit to get your bonuses. So it was oftentimes difficult to sell at that level as a Mac direct sales representative because I couldn't make my own rules. I was a
So-
company employee, so I had to follow their rules.
So they have suggestions that they have for the franchisees,
Correct.
and those suggestions are your rules.
Those were my rules.
Okay.
And at first, I found it difficult to live within those rules, not because I'm a lawbreaker, but
I don't know, man. I'm seeing the cowboy hat. I don't know.
yeah. Well, maybe I have broken a few.
Bent, not
bent,
broken.
yeah. It's not really breaking it if you don't get caught.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. So the restrictions were on, again, following Mac's rules on how to turn the inventory, how to turn the accounts receivable. And it was difficult in many situations to go into an opportunity as the new guy on the block, competing against another distributor that flew another flag that had been there for 20 years, making his own rules and taking the words of the technicians that I was trying to sell to, that I had to literally run my business the way they wanted me to run it, or they wouldn't buy from me. That was difficult because it wasn't my business. I worked for Mac. I couldn't do what they wanted me to do. What I mean by that is they, as anybody would that's buying something, want to get the maximum benefit for the least cost.
Right.
So, technicians would want to give me $20 a week no matter what they owed me. I couldn't do that when
Bad business plan.
It is a bad business plan. It's a very bad business plan, and but new to the industry and not really having that prior experience with dealing with anybody on the tool trucks. Is the first thing I did when I bought the business is I went out and told everybody it's $20 a week no matter what. Never could figure out with a pen and paper when I'm going to break even, let alone make a profit, but it's going to have to work. It works for that guy.
Right.
So
Until it didn't.
just about drove my business into the ground now,
Yeah.
collecting $20 a week from everybody, no matter what the balance was. So those were the two differences going from working for Mac versus being an independent. Obviously, when you're independent, you make your own rules, but Mac wasn't going to let me go out of business.
Right.
And you can take yourself and go out of business in a heartbeat if you make poor decisions. So I'm glad I was a Mac distributor as a company employee, because it allowed me to, I didn't understand the policies. I felt they were counterintuitive to selling, and they were making it difficult for me to be successful in my market. But
I think we all, at some point, experience that. As if you've ever been in business for yourself, which I think everyone should be in business for yourself.
I agree.
At some point in time, even if you decide, hey, this isn't for me, I'm going to go do something else. I believe that you should be in business for yourself for some period of time, so that you have a better appreciation for the guy that owns the business that you're working for, and the challenges that go into running that business, right? Because there's a lot of technicians out there. We do this podcast for a little bit of everybody. We're trying to reach technicians, but pretty much anybody in the industry, distributors, guys like yourself that work for, the supply chain side of the business. When a mechanic goes from being the lead technician at a dealership or an independent shop and deciding that he wants to go out on his own and start his own business, that first reality that he gets smacked with is how the whole bill thing works, and why everybody's got to pay, and why a lot of the things that were done at the dealership that he didn't agree with were done.
Right.
They're generally done for a reason. Hence, Mac wasn't going to let you collect $20 a week. They were going to sit down and have a conversation with you about, that's not going to work in our program. And there's a reason why, because it's not a path to success.
Exactly. And what I learned from that, I should say, is no matter whether it's your business or you are an employee of someone else's, you cannot let your customers dictate to you how you will do business.
Absolutely.
And so many people make that mistake where they're afraid that if they don't bend to every whim and wish of their customer, they won't have that customer. That's what I thought when I was $20 a week. No matter what, I thought that's what I had to do. So that's something that was huge that I learned going from that Mac employee where I had to follow these rules to now doing my own thing, and quick put on the brakes. You're going to drive yourself into the bankruptcy, and you haven't even been in business for 2 years. This is not going to work. I learned that was a huge thing. And that's one of the things when I train people now in sales, that your customer threatens to pull business from you if you don't do business the way they want to, or excuse me, if your customer threatens to pull business from you if you don't do it make the business transaction the way they want it, you can't let your customer dictate that, because it will drive you out of business.
That's probably not the right customer, right? So
there's a lot of wrong customers. There's a lot of wrong customers, but sometimes you have the hand you're dealt with, right? You know, I talk to people all the time today, and you know, we're at a high level of how you should operate your business, how you should operate your finances, and when I do a ride with and a work with, sometimes the reality sets in that I might have to notch it down a little bit because this is a different situation.
Right.
But you still have to maintain the fact that it is your business, and if you don't conduct your daily business, collect the money you need to collect, sell what you need to sell, such that it works for your bottom line, you're working for somebody else's bottom line, and that won't work. That won't last.
Yeah. Are they going to be there to pay your bills when you go out of business? just curious. No, probably not.
Probably not going to be there. No, sir.
So how did you go from those struggles to success? Because my notes here, if Emily did her job, Emily, wherever you are, now on your bio and the backstory, looks like you had some good success with Mac as well. So tell us how you went from okay, I'm faced with this reality, to the levels of success, and kind of touch on what those successes were.
Honestly, it was I went to my second Mac Tools tool fair, and I didn't like sitting in the back of the room and not getting a chance to go up and collect a watch and get my picture taken with the president.
So you had FOMO.
Sure. Not sure what that means.
Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. I certainly did have fear of missing out.
I don't know what they're giving out on that stage, but I want one of those.
Yeah, it was no fun, because in the back of the room, you don't get to enjoy what's happening. Everybody else is having a blast, and I could see all the people up in front. You know, we're getting called up, we're getting pictures taken, and I know I'm not the most photogenic kind of guy, but I wanted my picture taken.
Okay. I want to be with the cool kids.
That's right. Exactly right. So honestly, what I did was I reached out to fellow Mac distributors that I saw on the Jumbotron.
Okay.
People that I knew were successful distributors. And it's a very humbling experience to approach another business person, whether it's a man or a woman, that is more successful than you, and asking if they would mentor you.
Absolutely.
And that's what I did. I'm not going to lie. I did it half-heartedly. I felt like I asked the question, and that's all I had to do. I didn't really want to give a complete stranger access to my P&L. I didn't want to give a complete stranger access to the honesties of my day. So one day I came home, and my wife was handing me my phone, and she said, "Here, Dan Smith, the man you talked to at the national sales meeting, called you. Talk to him." I don't know why I left my phone home that day, but that was a pretty humbling day. But it was probably one of the best days as far as being a Mac distributor, because it forced my hand into actually acknowledging the fact that I needed help, and who better to get help from than distributors that are successful, distributors that did make money and could buy a new truck every 30 or 4 years, and could do the things they wanted to do. And you knew they had a great quality of life because they were taking trips and vacations, and I didn't have that, and I wanted that. So honestly, that's what I did. I searched out the distributors that I knew were successful and just asked questions. You know, what do you promote? How do you promote it? You know, this is what I'm doing. Do you see something in my approach? Do you see something in my activities that is lacking and I can improve on? And the best part about reaching out to that one distributor is he had a network himself. So I was instantaneously ingrained in a large network of Mac's top distributors at that time. And of course, if you're going to run with the big boys, you better run. So there was no holding back. I had to be on the stage the next year.
Stay on the porch with the puppets.
That's right. That's right. If I wasn't on the stage of that next year, I knew I was going to have some discussions that I didn't want to have. So
colorful,
very colorful,
colorful conversations. Okay. So how long were you a Mac distributor?
I was all in between working for Mac and being an independent 8.5 years.
Okay.
So 8.5 years. Actually had 2 routes, bought a second truck, put a second truck on the road, and was actually at the time toying with purchasing property or leasing property and doing a storefront.
Okay.
I don't know, can I mention a name of a distributor?
Sure.
So there was a distributor named Rod Siridiak.
Yeah, I know Rod. And I'm very good friends with Sue.
So they had stores in Canada.
Yep. You wanted to do what
I
they
wasn't
were
quite Canadian, but it's close, So I wanted
No.
a store.
Yeah, you were in Iowa, right?
I was in Iowa.
Yeah.
Yep. So
And we didn't even really want Iowa, so you really technically could have been Canadian. No, I'm teasing. Just teasing.
So yeah, I mean, I wanted to have stores. I wanted to have more. I wanted to grow my footprint and make more money. I mean, that's what it was all about. Was the more you sell, the more you make, and that was what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, Mac had some policies of U.S. based distribution and not being able to have a store. I never really could come to terms with that, but so bought a second route and just my plan was to continue to grow.
Gotcha.
And life's changes and I wanted more and more, and I was getting to the point honestly where I felt like my next step would be at Mac corporate, or it would be somewhere else at a corporate level.
Okay.
So that kind of goes into the question that you have of why did I leave the route?
Yeah.
It was successful and it was a lot of fun, but I wanted more challenge.
Okay.
I honestly didn't want to be the Mac man. I would go to functions and people call me the Mac man, which is cute until you tell them your name and they look at you funny. They didn't know I had a name.
Right.
They thought I was the Mac
You're
man.
the Mac guy.
Yeah, you're the Mac man.
Yeah.
So I had fellow distributors that had successful distribution, and then their next step was to go to GPC. So that's why I took the route, decided, this is fun. This has been a lot of fun. I've made a lot of money. I don't think I can continue to grow it the way I'd want to grow it. So I'm going to look at this as a period of time in my life where, everything I do to learn. And I felt like I've learned a lot. I wouldn't say I've learned everything I was going to learn, but I felt like I'd learned enough that I could go to a next step and was wanting again to go into a corporate level so I could climb that ladder.
Civil engineering to Mac guy that doesn't know what an impact is.
Yes, sir.
To selling lots of impacts.
Yes, sir.
To GPC. So for the listeners that don't know what GPC is, it's better known as
Napa.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're leaving Mac, you're going into the Napa tool and equipment program, correct?
Correct.
Not the part side, tool and equipment.
Correct. Tool and equipment.
Okay. So I've made a similar jump from being with a franchise company, both as an employee and a franchise tool dealer, and then going out to another company. And the whole time that I worked for Snap-on and was a franchise for Snap-on, they tell you drink the Kool-Aid, and they tell you that the world revolves around us. They put the spell on you, and you think, oh my God, this is great and wonderful, and this is the entire automotive business. And then you leave and you find out that there's this great big world that has absolutely nothing to do with Snap-on.
Right.
Was that a similar experience to what you had?
I've had that experience, but at the stage we're at in my timeline, not yet.
Okay.
So again, I had known several distributors that had made that successful leap from owning their own business to now working for a company, Napa, namely. And I reached out to those folks and asked a lot of questions. I really wanted to make sure that before I stepped off my truck, that was really what I wanted to do. Because you can't come back from that very easily. It's just, what I learned when I was on the truck, as soon as I mentioned to several people that I felt would be interested in purchasing my business, it ran like wildfire. And it went from, I had a confidential conversation with someone about, hey, would you be interested in acquiring my business from me, buying my truck and accounts receivable and the inventory and running this route so I can move on to do something else with my life. That conversation exploded into the Mac man's quitting. Don't buy from him anymore. So
apparently things in Iowa are not exactly confidential.
No, confidential isn't necessarily confidential. So needless to say, I had some choice words for that fellow that I thought.
Any you care to share?
No.
Oh, okay.
You told me to keep this clean.
Relatively clean.
So my point being is that I knew that if I was going to step off my truck, that what I was going to move into was going to have to be the next best thing in my life to propel me to the next level. And whether that was to get back into the construction world, which I looked at, or to stay in the automotive world, that's where I had to figure out. That's where I had to decide. I'm very happy for my decisions. I mean, taking the step from leaving the truck was difficult in that I knew I was giving up freedoms. I knew I was giving up my own business. Now I'm going to be working for someone and can't make my own rules, and I now have to follow the line, toe the line again, like I did when I started for Mac. So, but to answer your question, I have experienced that, but not yet in this time in my life. But
Okay.
It is very true that when you do work I've actually experienced it with Napa, where it is tough to look at that opportunity and think, wow, all of the things that I have, like you said, all of the Kool-Aid I've been drinking, am I making a huge mistake?
Right.
By looking at this other opportunity, am I making a huge mistake even if I'm entertaining it, let alone actually do it? Is this going to be the biggest mistake of my life? But you're absolutely right. It's a huge industry. There are many, 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 many opportunities. Whether you are an independent, I'm amazed at what you've done with this business.
We've grown a little bit.
Wow.
Bit.
I was
Thank
here,
you.
3 years ago, and it was this shop, and there was a 4-post lift over there that was a little crooked, if I remember correctly.
It was a lot crooked.
I don't think
we've
we
been there since '99 or something.
I remember
like that.
when we did the rollback, we had to fight. Like, it was a pickup. We had a pickup on there, and when we did the rollback, it was really difficult to
Four
get
people
pushed.
Four-person alignment.
It was
Four-
tough to get that
yeah.
truck rolled forward because
Yeah.
we're going against the grain.
Yeah.
To what you've done now, I mean, obviously you're a testament to this too, because of the things you've done, and you're doing all this. That's why I asked you earlier. Is this planned or is this organic? Because this is crazy.
No. So one of the things that you mentioned before was not allowing your customers to dictate how you do business, and I agree with that 100%. My employees may not agree with this, but or they may not notice this, but my biggest focus is making sure that they're taken care of.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that if you hire good people, give them the tools that they need to be successful, and then get out of the way and let them do their job, you will find success. So the success that the company has had is more about the people that I employ and my luck at choosing the right people. I would like to say there's some skill involved in there somewhere along the way. But I think if you really truly believe in something and you really truly want to get it done, you'll find the way. So our company, in 2015, when we started what we're doing today, we started the company with $500. That's what I had in the That's what I had in the bank. $525 was in the business checking account. That was after I sold my Snap-on franchise. Snap-on was a great company to be involved with, and I can do what I do today because of the knowledge and experience that I gained from working for a company like that. But we had some differences of opinion, and it was time for me to move on and do something else. And I had this awesome opportunity with Texa, but there was a lot of hard work ahead. And so in 2015, beginning of 2015, it was just me. We had a Rubbermaid shelf that's still in my garage, which is where all this started. It's like the thing you go to Walmart, it's
right.
like 4 shelves high. That was the original inventory rack. Okay?
Wow.
And
you need to put it behind a case of glass.
I do. I think I've got hunting stuff on it right now. But
the shelf that started it all.
Exactly. The shelf that started it all began here. So in November-ish, I was just overwhelmed. So I was doing all sales and tech support for Mac Tools. I was doing all, because that was one of our first distributors, first national distributor. We were doing shows and field support. And so I'm the guy out there. I'm in between demos, driving, meet with one distributor to another distributor, go out and do the demos. I'm calling people back and doing tech support and logging into the computer and doing remote sessions and doing counter codes.
See, I thought you never called me back because you didn't like me.
No, I was a little bit
Okay,
busy, just a little bit busy. And we're going to get to that too, because that's another question I have. And then finally, I was talking to my wife one day. I was at my wit's end, and I was talking to my wife one day, and she said, you need to call your son and ask him to come help you. So that's two things that a father doesn't want to do. A is call his son,
Right.
and ask for help. And B, to be in that situation where you got to call your son and ask for help. But that's exactly what I did. And so he said, can you afford to pay me? And the answer was no,
Nope.
not really.
Oh, you want paid?
Yeah, you want to get paid too. So the original business model was, if you can come in and take some of the pressure off of me, then I'll be able to sell more, and then I'll be able to pay you. That was the business plan. Not a Forbes business plan. That was my business plan.
I don't think that's going to get you an SBA loan.
Nope. So that was November 2015. And, now we're, what are we? April, May, June? Where are we at?
It's still May.
May.
Yep.
Quarantine.
It's
I'll tell you.
quarantine.
So, May 2020, we're at 23 employees. We have 2 facilities. That Rubbermaid shelf has gone to 9,600 square foot,
right?
Warehouse. So we've grown a lot, and we've been, grateful for the opportunities.
Well, I'm impressed. It was really neat to see, and so yeah, same thing. You've lived it. It's there are opportunities. It's an interesting segment of what we do now, like what I do now. I'm on the parts business, so to speak, but I only sell tools and equipment. So
Right.
it just opens up so much of your mindset of cars obviously aren't going away. Cars aren't getting easier to repair. Technicians are still a necessary component to our society. They still need to buy tools and equipment. So we're not going anywhere. We can always take an opportunity if we want to. If anybody that's in the industry right now wants more, don't be afraid to take that step. Don't be afraid to take that leap.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you've done
No.
in this industry, whether you're a technician, whether you're the guy changing tires. That's how I got started in this business. I worked for a guy that believed that you weren't good enough to change tires until you cleaned enough toilets. And that was my start in the automotive business. Through to technician, through to, working for Snap-on in the diagnostics program. So it doesn't matter what you do in this industry, there's opportunities out there for you.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's also interesting. It's a very close-knit community too, where, if anything ever happened to me and I needed to make a career change, I know I would be able to find, as long as it's the same, in the automotive industry, I would be fine because I've made those contacts. But that's what's interesting and fun about this industry is we're all in a pond, and it's a finite sized pond, but there's a lot of business for us in that pond.
Yes.
And everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Be careful the toes you step on.
Exactly.
Today.
I'm afraid who's going to see this today.
That's oops. So, you and I, were got off on a rocky start, so to speak, just because I was, like you said, you thought I wasn't calling you back because I just didn't want to talk to you. So tell us about that, because you were persistent, were you not?
I was a little persistent.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad that you were. So talk about that, and what was it about the Texa product line? Because you were after Texa, not me.
Right.
Even though I'm Mr. Congeniality. You were after Texa.
Right.
So what was it about the product that attracted you so much?
Well, I've always, like I said, always looking for that thing I can sell, and I'm always looking for that thing I can learn from. what I did learn, so just to kind of go back in time here a little bit, when I did learn when I worked for Napa, the opportunities in heavy duty.
Okay.
The opportunities in the heavy duty industry they're astoundingly lucrative because your customer base with the vehicle owners aren't necessarily worried about the cost of the repair as much as they are the timeliness of completing that repair. So looking for a product to sell, I needed to find the product that was, from my understanding, the best and also a profitable product. So Texa just fit the bill perfectly right there.
Okay.
And I had sold a competitive brand, and I knew what I could do with that competitive brand. So when I began to understand the capabilities of Texa,
It's not green and overpriced, is it?
It is. It's one.
Oh, okay.
That's one of them. There's
Just-
another one that's green and it's a little smaller.
Still overpriced.
Yeah, still overpriced and requires you to buy every OEM platform on the planet.
But we're not going to mention any
right,
names.
right, to do anything with it.
One might start with a B, one might start with an N.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Hush.
Yep. I didn't do that. But so knowing what those other platforms could do and the success I had in selling those, which was extremely good success given the situation of pricing and capabilities. I didn't have the best product and I wasn't selling at the cheapest price point, but I was still selling it.
Right.
So knowing that there's this product called Texa and the capabilities are much better, much stronger, much more OE, almost as if you're buying OE software, but yet a lot less money. Well, that's a no-brainer. I can sell it, and I needed it in my program. So that's why I pursued you, because it was a blank spot in the program that I'm running now that I wanted to fill.
Okay.
So I needed to fill.
And you did.
Take you and take them, dragging and kicking to the party together.
That's right. We're coming to this party whether you
That's
like
right.
it or not.
There's going to be a heavy duty program whether you want it or not. It's
That's
going
right.
to be there.
All right. So Mac to GPC.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about your experiences and your successes at GPC.
So Genuine Parts. When I stepped off the tool truck, my knowledge of tools and equipment was 99% tools. So hardline, your sockets, wrenches, ratchets, screwdrivers. I really understood half-inch impacts by the time I was done. I really did.
Sure.
You pull the trigger and it went.
There you go. What else do you need to know?
But my knowledge,
just like a screw gun.
That's right. A little louder. Don't hold the socket.
There
That
you go.
hurts.
There you go.
When I went to work for Genuine Parts, I had really no knowledge at all, or any even basic understanding of capital equipment, the profit centers that the shops purchase, and the bulk of what we were selling, or the bulk of what we sold, was capital equipment. So again, back to my first day on a tool truck, not knowing what a half-inch impact was. I mean, I knew what a tire changer was. I mean, I'm not that ignorant, but was not proficient in selling the product, was not proficient in representing the product in front of a customer. So learning curve, start all over again, and now take that knowledge that I had and kind of put it away for a little bit, because the customer base isn't so much the technician making a weekly payment, as it is the shop owners that are, they're acquiring the financing or doing whatever they have to do to now acquire these profit centers. It's a whole different beast. So again, as a big learning curve, and it was actually a very fun learning curve. Going to work for Genuine Parts is when I started to really develop that relationship capabilities with all the different manufacturers.
Okay.
You didn't necessarily have those opportunities as a Mac distributor because you're so focused on chasing that $20 bill down the street. You're so focused on collections and everything you've got to do on a day-to-day basis to make sure you're staying alive and making a profit. When you go now to work for Genuine Parts and at the level I was at as a tool rep, system selling group, what we were called, much of what I did at that level was more consultative selling.
Mm-hmm.
And not so much, because I didn't have the ability to make the transaction. That was the salesman that I went into that shop with. I was the muscle. I was the heavy. I was the guy that went into the shop. I got my arms crossed, jokingly, but I'm the guy that's there to help that shop owner understand the value of what the talking professional liar is, because he's a salesman, is trying to promote. Because again, so it was a whole different world. It was a different experience, more consultative selling, not so much you couldn't get away with that hard sales pitch that you get away with on the tool truck. You're going to anger somebody now.
It's also a different relationship,
Yes.
right? So that guy you're seeing every week, you start to get to know each
Right.
other, and there's the opportunity for banter. You don't have that with that guy that you just met 3 minutes ago.
No, and oftentimes you wouldn't see that gentleman again for another 6 months to maybe a year, depending on how often that salesman or saleswoman from the store needed your assistance. So you definitely didn't build that
So
relationship.
sarcasm's not going to get you.
No, it didn't get you
everywhere.
very far. It got you some crossways. I actually was forcibly removed from a Napa store.
Really?
Yep. One of my first days in the South, and realized that I had to clean up my language. So coming from Iowa to Tennessee, there's certain words you don't use in front of certain people.
And you found
I
out what
found
those
them.
words were.
All the words that my mom would threaten to wash my mouth out with soap.
Generally don't use those in
Those
the
are the
South.
words. Those are the words. So it was a much different situation, but it was a fun learning experience, and it honestly allowed my development into this industry to really kind of flourish. Because again, like I was saying, as a Mac distributor, I did not know players in the industry. Now going to work for Genuine Parts, and then with going to national sales meetings and vendor visits and warehouse, manufacturing visits, and then of course on a high level, so much of what I did required me to have that relationship with that manufacturer that I didn't have before, because now I'm working out pricing for someone else, So rather than me worrying about the final price, I just got to worry about what I can get that wholesale number down to, so he can go out and be successful with it. So
Right.
It was fun. I learned a lot. Would never look at that time period with any negative vein, because it strengthened my overall resume in
Right.
this industry. And again, the relationships are the thing that I can't stress enough, is now the people who I know. I called on you for a favor a couple years ago.
Yep,
You know?
you did.
My son needed some help, and he's down here in your market, in your area. I literally can call almost anybody in any place in this country today if I needed help with something. And it's all about the relationship aspects. And it all started with Genuine Parts.
That's awesome. Okay. So GPC for how long?
I started in June of 2011 and left in October of 2015. So
GPC to GNS.
went to Greatneck Saul. Yes, sir.
Greatneck Saul. Okay. So tell us, and that's where you are today,
Yes, sir.
director of the tool and equipment program. GPC to Greatneck Saul, differences between the two and the challenges.
So the differences between,
Let me stop you.
okay,
Explain Greatneck
what
Saul.
we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're an
I'm gonna brag on Greatneck Saul a little bit.
and you're, in a lot of ways, you're an unsung hero, right? So there's parts and pieces to Greatneck Saul that people don't know about.
Correct. Correct.
There's a big part of Greatneck Saul that the public never sees.
Correct. Greatneck
Yeah.
Saw. So Greatneck Saw is actually the nation's oldest family-owned tool company. We are 101 years old this calendar year. We are based out of Mineola, New York. The only thing that is manufactured in the New York facility is hacksaw blades. Hence,
Greatneck Saw.
Greatneck Saw. The original factory was in Greatneck, New York. So that's where the name came from, Greatneck, and then Saw, because they make saw blades. Now our company logo is a giraffe, so it just works out that way. That's perfect. But
Do you know the giraffe story? Because that inquiring minds want to
well,
know.
I'm just assuming it's a simple one, but I probably could figure that out.
Okay, just curious.
But what's interesting about Greatneck is we are, again, the nation's oldest family-owned tool company, 101 years old. But most people don't know who we are because we don't typically go to market under our own brand. We private label for a lot of different companies. We private label for companies that, I could mention some.
Sure.
So we private label for Walmart. We private label for Ballcamp. If anybody knows who Ballcamp is, they're they're the warehouse entity for Napa. We sell some products to O'Reilly's, not much, very minimal. But our number one business, our number one distribution partner in the automotive world is Autozone Commercial.
Okay.
So what we do in our offices is we have a call center that's dedicated to AutoZone. There's 12 people that work in there, and they earn their paychecks solely because of business AutoZone brings us. We don't answer phones for anybody else. We answer technical questions, pricing questions. We source product for AutoZone. We build their catalog for them. So there is a lot of things that Greatneck does. Well, really, I wouldn't say we're their main tool and equipment provider. Now, some other neat things about Greatneck Saul that I'm not sure if you're aware of is recently with the coronavirus and the COVID-19 crisis, our factory up in Long Island, converted the process from making saw blades to making masks and face shields. And
you didn't even try to sell me any. I'm just saying.
I can't sell those to you. And they've donated thousands of those face shields and masks to the tri-state New York metropolitan hospital area. So Greatneck is a great company. It really is. It's one of the best companies that I've worked. Obviously, I've been around a little bit and worked with several different companies, and Greatneck being a family-owned business, they really do treat their employees like family. We haven't furloughed anybody during the crisis here, the COVID-19 crisis. We're still fully functioning, large warehouse where we inventory, we direct import from overseas, a lot of product and a lot of third-party manufactured products we will bring in inventory because it makes sense. But again, Greatneck Saw's intention is to continue to do business as we did it 6 months ago.
There's very few companies right now with the impact of COVID-19 that are not laying their employees off.
I know.
And from a sheer business perspective, as a business owner, I can say that, with the impact of COVID-19 on our business, I could lay people off and not feel the sting. Our customer experience team is taking, fewer and fewer calls. The outbound sales obviously are considerably less than what they were 2 months ago.
What did we say when we were in the truck? Not enough?
Yeah, not enough.
Not
Doesn't
enough.
matter what that
Doesn't
number
matter
is.
what the number is.
Enough.
It's not enough.
So I feel the same way. And I think it's awesome that larger companies out there are keeping everybody working, even though the logical business decision would be, let's go ahead and lay them off for a little while. It shows the commitment to the employee, which is huge.
Yeah, it definitely does. So I have nothing but high praise and respect for the owners of the company. Again, it's a family-owned business, and they really do run it like family. It's
awesome.
Now, honestly, there's been times where running it like a family blows my mind, but at this point in time, it's a great company to be involved with.
Tell me about. There's got to be challenges. So you're facilitating a lot of the tool and equipment program for AutoZone. So
Yes.
At GPC, you're more. You've got direct reports. It's much easier to give a guy a quota and say, this is what you're going to sell this quarter. This is the number that, I know from my Snap-on days, we were tasked with go
Correct.
get a number. Don't violate company policy. Don't violate the law, but go get this number, save those two things. You don't have the luxury of doing that
No.
at Greatneck, do you?
No, we don't.
So talk about that relationship with AutoZone, which is huge to the company.
Yes, it is.
I think you kind of touched on that, but so there's this huge importance on the program, and yet you have very little direct control over what AutoZone actually does as far as what they sell or that kind of thing. So tell us how you do your job and what the challenges are that go into that.
So, like I said, when I went to work for Napa Genuine Parts, it became more of a consulting type selling situation. Now, at the level of the district sales manager where I was at, I did sell directly to the stores. So there was direct selling, but so you had both. You had consultative type selling, and then you had direct sales. And so that you could control how you'd hit your number. And then as a regional manager, when I became a regional manager for Napa, again, same thing as you said, is, guide the district sales managers that directly reported to me to, here's your number. And I don't care how you hit it, but as your regional manager, I'm going to show you some options that you have, because I'm not just going to throw this out there and say, figure it out, because you 50-50 chance you will. And I want to make sure you do, because then I get paid too. So,
Right.
What I did as a regional manager was make sure that if I put an onus on one of my direct reports, I also had, here's how I would do it. And here's how I think you can get there. Now, if you want to deviate from that, if you want to take this and run with it, great. If you want to deviate from it, great, but get there. And you have to have a plan to get there. And so what was interesting then, of course, now going into, like you said, going into Greatneck Saul, is we don't have that direct selling opportunity. We have a number we want to hit. We have a number that's anticipated to be hit. Then we have a number that's expected to be hit. But we have no direct control of whether we're going to hit that number or not. I can't send any one of my call center agents out and say, hey, go call on these shops and sell this today. It doesn't work that way.
Develop a relationship with an AutoZone
Yes,
guy
that's-
that can go out and sell this today.
There you go.
And then explain to him why he needs to go sell it and why it's great and wonderful, and then why the customer needs to own it.
Right. So everything we do is 100%. We're witnessing our success through others at 100% level. When I took the promotion from district sales manager to regional manager, one of the, I won't say his name, there was an upper level VP at Napa, and it's not who you're thinking.
Sure, there was more than one.
He's not there anymore though, so maybe.
Okay.
He came
We
up.
still won't mention any
Okay,
names.
no, we won't mention any names. He actually came up to me, and he was concerned that as a district sales manager, where I was 100% responsible for my success or lack thereof, could I transition into witnessing my success through others? And I hadn't thought about the fact that as a regional manager, that's what I was going to do, is I was going to witness my success 100% through others. So it kind of hit me like a brick. Ooh, yeah, when I leave this room today, that's exactly what I have to do.
I think so. Leadership is almost cliche today. Everybody uses that as a term for quote unquote effective management. And they, in my opinion, not that my opinion matters, but in my opinion, they're completely and totally different things. So what you're describing is leadership. It's easy to manage somebody that with stick and carrot,
Right.
that has to report to you if they want to continue to have a job, compared to developing a relationship with someone that's willing to kind of follow you off the cliff, if you will, and they have no dog in that fight. So that, to me, that's the true difference between leadership and management. So it sounds like you were managing it at Napa, and you had to lead, or you have to lead in the role that you're in now.
Well, that was part of my problem at Napa, why I didn't see eye to eye with some people, because I didn't manage.
Respond to the stick and carrot?
No, I didn't. I don't respond to stick and carrot, and I don't expect others to respond to stick and carrot either. My management style is how I want to be managed. Give me a goal, but
So the guy using the stick didn't think that you could lead.
correct.
Okay, I got it.
Yes.
I'm in.
Yeah. So if I'm gonna have a goal, use a sports analogy. If my football coach on the sideline doesn't know how to call a play, we're never gonna win.
Right.
He's not running the plays, but he better darn well know how the play should work to get us to the end zone. And that's how I approached my position as a regional manager. And that if I give a DSM a goal, I expect him to have a plan, but if he doesn't have a plan, I've got some options. I've got some ideas.
Right.
I've already crunched the numbers. I've already looked at his market before I gave him this number. I'm not just going to throw out a number and say, hey, you're on your own to figure it out.
Right.
Because again, his success is going to drive me to be successful. And if I'm just going to chance it that he's going to be successful, again, you're a 50-50 chance of falling into the gutter just as you are,
Right.
as well as you are sitting on the pinnacle of the top seat. So taking that role of a regional manager and rolling it into what I do for Greatneck Saul is more of the same, but more of the same, but yet more aggressively distanced. Meaning, I can give my call center agents a goal, but again, they, like you said, they have to have that relationship with someone who's half the way across the country to actually want to take the program or the promo and do something with it. And again, we have no direct sales. We sit around, not literally, but figuratively crossing our fingers. Man, call us with the order. Call us with the order.
Right.
So it is a little intriguing, and it's a little it can be frustrating when you know the opportunities are there.
Welcome to my world.
I know. Believe me, I've been frustrated with the lack of Texas sales through us. I get it.
We're going to fix that, Mike.
Yes, we are going to fix that. I think it's been getting better.
Or we're going to find a stick that works.
But so a lot of what I do now is really sales training. You know, bringing, and you've been involved, and Jesse's been involved in these classes where we bring the knowledge base to the sales team. And again, you can't force that horse to drink, but you're going to do everything you can to get that horse over to the bank at River's Edge, and hope to heck they put their head down and take a big old nice refreshing gulp.
That's right. And come back.
And come
again
back.
and again and
Yep.
again.
Yeah, and we've seen some success with the Texa product line. I'm excited about some of the things you told me earlier today about the guys that are working with you.
The release of CAR and ADOS, I
that
think,
was
is going to
huge.
be, a big part of that, because that's going to get a lot of the AutoZone guys' attention. Hey, whether they looked at Texa HD as a limited opportunity in their given market or whatever the case may be, it's really just kind of opens the horizon for them to talk about Texa to everyone.
Yes, it does.
So I think we're going to see a great impact from that. I'm stoked about the opportunity for sure.
I'm very excited about it. When I sat through the demo that Preston did when I took my tool to Whereverville, North Carolina, I was quite impressed with what the information we were able to access and see, and it appeared as if I was using any other automotive only scan tool.
Awesome.
There's I won't mention the name brands again, but the one that we sold the most of in the past, I could see this replacing it as far as the capabilities go. And if you can, again, the ability to walk into a municipality that 1 minute might be working on a police car, and then the next minute might be working on a dump truck or a garbage truck. That's the one thing that everybody looked for in the past when I was selling heavy duty. Well, do you have a tool to do it all? And
right.
I'd chuckle, you could never afford it if it
right.
existed.
That tool hasn't been invented yet.
Why don't you go invent it?
Until it was.
Right.
So let's talk about our end users.
Okay.
Our end users, which is why, the guys that ultimately pay the bills, and the customers that we're ultimately trying to reach. So, in my opinion, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, 70 to 80% of all of the equipment that shops buy are bought from either a local distributor, big box store, Advance, AutoZone,
Correct.
O'Reilly's, or the mobile channels, Mac,
Yep.
Matco, Cornwell. Little bit of maybe Amazon in there somewhere, but and that's probably more tools, less equipment. Any thoughts on, so you have experience in being the franchise tool guy,
Yes.
selling to the customers, and the level of service and support that they get from the mobile channel. As do I. You have the experience in that GPC thing with Napa, and then you have the Greatneck experience. What do you think the differences of level of support are from buying from your local franchise tool dealer to, say, one of the big box stores?
Well, as far as level of support goes, I'd say it's wherever I'm at. That's where you're going to get the best support.
How'd I know you were going to say that?
I honestly think,
or is there a difference?
well, I think the question might need to be a little more nuanced, because I think it really depends on what the category of product is. If it goes into the profit center type product, where we're talking lifts, tire changes, wheel balancers, I personally think that the opportunities to have a better experience would come into play with those parts distributors, the Napas, O'Reilly's, Advance, CarQuest, AutoZone, simply because they know the importance of following that profit center up with the parts to support it so that shop can make their profit.
Right.
As a tool distributor, I don't know that I had that kind of mindset. I don't know that I had that concept.
So you can sell them the tire changer, but you're not selling them the wheel weights and the valve stems,
right?
And the patches. And
my
tire
biggest
tools and...
and my biggest concern when I was a tool distributor was I was only going to make 25 points on that tire changer.
That's not worth my time.
No, I'm not touching that. We make less than that on this side of the world, in the automotive side, much less. So I think as at the level of the mobile distributors, the focus is quite a bit different than it is when you go to the parts distributors, and I think again some of it is because it's just not the wheelhouse. Again, I didn't know equipment. I didn't know capital equipment and profit centers until I came to work for Napa. I didn't sell the product. I wasn't versed in it. I think I sold one tire changer the entire time I was on the tool truck, and then we actually swapped a side of beef.
So it's more about the focus of the business.
Correct.
Not so much that the service is better or worse one way or the other.
I think so.
Just a different experience.
Right. And again, if my contact with the manufacturers when I was with a Mac distributor was very limited.
Okay.
Mainly because the bulk of what you dealt with was Mac branded. So you didn't really get that relationship built with the company that was private labeling.
Actually building the product.
Yeah, you didn't have that necessarily strong relationship with anybody on the backside because you might not have known who it was. Whereas with these other box stores that are selling parts, again, they have that day-to-day relationship with that manufacturer. And if you can swing a baseball bat and hit a home run every time, you're going to swing that baseball bat and hit a home run every time. And what I mean by that is that the support level, the service and support level, I think would inherently be better from the parts houses than it would be on a mobile on capital equipment. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean diagnostics in my mind, because that's a whole different beast too. But I'm just specifically talking the heavy iron in the shop as far as capital equipment goes. I think on diagnostics, to be honest with you, they probably would get a better service level from the mobile, given the fact that the mobile actually understands the scan tool. That's the first requirement. I knew many mobile distributors when I was a Mac distributor, and I was one of them that didn't know much about a scan tool at all, and the puppy dog close was the only way they could close it. And I don't like puppy dog closes.
Take this.
Yeah, I don't
Let me know what you think.
You know why I don't like puppy dog closes?
Because you did it.
Because they poop and pee in the corner, and you don't want it anymore.
That's right. That's right.
So I did the puppy dog closes on scan tools simply because I had to. I had no knowledge of the scan tool and how it worked, and short of what they showed me in buttonology class. Well, that doesn't really trip anyone's trigger necessarily to buy the scan tool. So, but again, if your mobile distributor's got good diagnostic understanding, I think you're gonna get excellent support after the sale from the mobile. But when it comes to the heavy iron, I think the parts side is going to be better prepared to support after the sale.
So you deal with several different diagnostic companies.
Yes, sir.
And we're not going to pick on them by name at all. You've had the opportunity to experience the commitment of support that we bring to diagnostics.
Yes, sir.
With the Texa line. Better, worse, different?
Oh, it's from my experience with the different platforms that I've ever been involved in, you are definitely the best at what you do for support and service.
Now, everybody watching is expecting you to say that as soon as I answered the question. So you got to qualify that statement.
What I mean by that is well, first of all, like I said earlier, you've grown so much. So you've got the staff to support and back that up. I mean, you took me around today and you showed me I'm going to call it the control room for lack of a better term today, where AJ was. They call
it the war room.
The war room.
Isn't that what they're calling it? The war room, I think. Yeah.
That's impressive to know that you've got that many. You've got 5 people for all intents and purposes in there that can answer technical based calls, and not to mention your sales team and marketing team, but anytime that we've needed your help, anytime we've needed assistance from anybody at Cutting Edge Automotive on the Texa platform, it's like that, and one of our biggest dilemmas is the Texa platform is very nuanced, and
that's a very polite way of saying that.
But it's honestly the best platform out there that if you want the tool to do it all, but it's nuanced in that you've got to know where your pitfalls are.
Right.
I know where those pitfalls are because I've invested the time and energy into it. My call center agents don't. So when we get a call from an AutoZoner and the conversation is Texa, the first thing they do is they ask that caller to call y'all down here, figure out what they need, and then call us back with part numbers. And the experience I've had has been I can't say anything negative about it. It's been extremely helpful, very timely. There's other companies out there that if you call with technical questions, first of all, you would never call if you know the situation, if you know how they operate, because you don't have the kind of time necessary to wait on hold if they ever do pick up the phone. And I think you and I both know who that company is. And then there's other companies in diagnostics that you wouldn't bother to ever reach out to them because they don't have the answers anyway, because the product is just rebranded and stuck into a different color box, and they have no idea how the software works. I've experienced that before with a green box, maybe.
I think it was green.
I think it was green.
Bright green.
Yeah, had no idea how the software worked because that wasn't their software. It was somebody else's that was rebranded, stuck into a green box, and we didn't know. Right. We don't know. So, yeah, I mean, 3 seconds? You guys answer a call within 3 seconds?
Yeah.
That's
so
nuts.
AJ was covering the
call
times when we were over in
that's
the war
nuts.
room.
So, I have the support we get from Cutting Edge is fantastic. I've got nothing but glowing things to say about it.
So was it worth the wait?
It was. Well, it will be worth the wait when we get more people selling it.
There you go.
We've seen small amount of sales, and honestly, the reason why I brought it on to the AutoZone world is we didn't have a heavy duty offering. AutoZone doesn't live in the heavy duty world necessarily. Right. That's outside of their wheelhouse. And I wanted to bring into our catalog, into our offering, something that would allow them to walk into a heavy duty shop,
right,
and have a conversation that wasn't negative. Again, because I go back to my original
and all of their verticals. So heavy duty, power sports,
right,
marine. They have parts that they can sell.
They do
in those spaces, but not enough to warrant them to stop in.
Correct.
To try to cultivate that business, and this gives them the opportunity to do that.
That's exactly it. That's why I was persistent, based on the feedback I was getting from a few people that knew the platform, that, man, I had to have this in the program.
Okay.
So, that's why I was persistent. I knew I needed to have something that I could put in that catalog that was the best item that anybody, you've got all these price pointed lower tier products, but if you're going to do the job right, I want to have the best product out there. So
awesome.
That's that. And I'm a firm believer in Texa. I've seen some amazing things with AutoZoners, and to know an AutoZoner who doesn't understand heavy duty at all, and when they go into an opportunity and they utilize your team here to do a remote diagnostic or scenario, and they're utilizing my demo, and now all of a sudden that AutoZoner is calling you, asking you, well, will it do this? Will it do that? That's awesome, and they get excited. And it's that excitement that obviously is going to drive the business.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, it's a very grassroots opportunity. It's not something that is, it doesn't take off like a wildfire,
If it was easy, everybody'd do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, Mike, do you have any questions for me?
Gee, Merry Christmas. I didn't realize I was supposed to have any questions.
You weren't, because I might not want to answer them.
No, I feel good. I just really appreciate you letting me do this, and I hope this all works out well, and hopefully you can get some good cuts off this.
So tell me, how do we get in touch with Greatneck Saul?
So the best thing to do to get in touch,
not us, but the customers.
So the best thing that I would actually, since we don't actually sell direct to the street, we sell through AutoZone. The best thing,
the AutoZone catalog.
pick up the AutoZone catalog, talk to your local AutoZone store. What's interesting about AutoZone is you may not find an AutoZone catalog in a store simply because it's commercial focus only.
Okay.
Not every AutoZone is a commercial store. So first of all, the store must be a commercial focused store, and most are, but not all. And then the next thing is you would have to have a commercial account. So it's not necessarily so easy to get the catalog, but as a shop owner or technician in a shop, more than likely they're buying parts from AutoZone already.
Okay.
I would just ask if anybody in that shop is interested in learning more about the offerings that AutoZone has in the commercial tool and equipment program. Ask the commercial sales manager that's at the store. Ask the territory sales manager when he comes knocking on your door, or the district manager. There's multiple levels of Untitled folks at the AutoZone world that will call on these commercial stores, and not every commercial account knows we have a very robust tool and equipment offering. Okay. So if anybody's listening to this, if you're interested in knowing more about Texa platform, and we're going to put some other items in the catalog here going forward, please just talk to your local AutoZone stores and make sure they can get you hooked up on the product, and we'll get you taken care of.
Awesome. Mike?
Thank you, Lee.
Appreciate it.